Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Current Status. This evening, we really do have a very special guest that will be joining us, but I won't spoil the surprise quite yet. Our topic today is going to be IT in the enterprise versus small business. And my name is Teresa Miller, and you can find me on Twitter at 24/7 IT Connect.
And I'm Pumla Schmidt, and you can find me on Twitter as @ExchangeGoddess.
And I apparently am your very special guest, Sonja Cuff. You can find me at Cuff_S.
So Sonja, do you want to tell us about yourself a little bit and your friend or guest? Because there's somebody hiding
Sure.
there.
Well, yeah, I'm based in Australia at the moment, so I'm living in Brisbane, and I heard that it's sort of compulsory for Australian presenters to bring the kangaroo. So I only actually had a koala, so I had to search high and low for this lady and her little Joey. So we officially have kangaroos on the show now.
Yay! And it's not a Unaroo. There was a Unaroo joke way back when.
Yeah.
The unicorn and kangaroo.
Yeah.
It's a kangaroo.
Yes, we have kangaroos, but as you can tell by my accent, I'm actually from New Zealand. I've been in Australia for 12 years now, and still very much have a New Zealand accent, so I'm sorry if you were expecting, a Nicole Kidman style accent. You've got a Kiwi one, which I still get teased mercilessly about, but that's okay. The climate and the lifestyle is better over here, and it makes up for it. So my current role at the moment is owning and managing a small IT company that provides managed services to small businesses, but my technical background is actually in enterprise sysadmin. So I've worked for banks, I've worked for government departments, and I've played with both Microsoft infrastructure, and for a wee while there I was working for an IBM software business partner. So I have a deep dark secret of being an IBM principal certified Lotus professional in Release 5, but we don't talk about that too much these days.
What? Did you really say Lotus 5?
You did.
Yeah,
You really did.
Yeah, VCLP R5, just,
Oh my
the dusty
God.
certificate lying around. Yeah. It goes to show how old I am now.
You do still see Lotus once in a while. I was message tracking something recently, and I'm like, what? That's coming from Lotus?
That's still
No
around?
wonder it's not working.
Exactly. I say the same thing when I ever have to trace an email. I'm like, oh my God, this system's archaic. It's notes. Come on, people, get with the time.
Yeah. So, well, in government too, a lot of that, the group-wise stuff was still pretty ingrained in some of that years ago. But
It actually still is, actually.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Look, when I cut my teeth, especially with the Exchange administration, we were running MS Mail and GroupWise and some other mail system and integrating all three. So, we've come a long way since those days.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So it sounds like you've worked very recently. You've done a lot in the small business space. What are your thoughts on that compared to the enterprise? Do you, boy, I'm trying to think what my question is. Like, so are you, yeah, what's the difference? Thank you.
Because I've worked in both.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, look, when you're talking about the kind of customers that you're working with, they are a lot more agile. They're usually a lot more open to change. You're usually dealing with the decision makers pretty early on in the conversation, so you don't have those layers of management to go through. You don't tend to have conversations which then get blocked because they need financing approval, because you're normally dealing with the people that have that sort of authority straight up, which is good. It's nice to have those conversations and know that you're not going to get stopped with those kind of compliance and financing roadblocks higher up in the organisation. Saying that, they are very cost conscious, so you do have to be aware, and we put a licensing proposal together for a small customer that's going to be $10,000 to $15,000 just in Microsoft licensing, and that's a big deal to this customer, which is quite funny when you think of some of the licensing costs we deal with in enterprise. So they are very cost conscious. Yeah. Conversations like cloud are really interesting in small business, because while they do have the flexibility to adopt and embrace changes in new technologies like cloud. They have very strong feelings about that subscription style payment where their costs are spread, but they are locked in every month in terms of I have to find this money every month to keep my subscription going, versus I have enough money in the bank account right now for a big project and I just want to own it. So yeah, depending on the customer, it's interesting to have those kind of conversations.
Do you think that they go to the cloud first because they don't have to manage that infrastructure? I know you said you kind of see a little bit of both, but it feels like that would be a really good option for the small business that doesn't want to maintain on-site.
Well, yeah, the lack of resources too. I think with the cloud would almost seem more practical in some sense.
Yeah, it does. I think the challenge that small businesses face is that even though they don't have their own in-house IT team, they usually have somebody or some shape or form that is looking after their infrastructure, because they still do have devices and a network and the stuff that needs to run. So even if they get rid of their server, they still don't have somebody in-house that's going to do the desktop management and fix the network when it breaks and the printer when it breaks. So they really need to be finding IT partners that are capable of doing both, of moving them to the cloud, supporting them in the cloud, and supporting their on-premise desktops. And that kind of thing. So I think here, definitely in Australia, one of the biggest barriers to adoption for cloud for small business is our internet infrastructure. We don't have fantastic internet here. We have places that are not far from a city, and and they still have very poor speed and reliability of their internet connections. So that's one of the biggest factors we found within our customer base of making that cloud decision. Not so much the ROI and the cost benefits and the lower support costs, it's the, is it going to work reliably day to day for my staff to be able to access what they need.
Oh, so like Teresa's house.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, boy, they must be functioning on internet that's the quality of mine, which is not very high.
Yeah.
Sorry, Teresa. I had to just poke you there.
It's okay. That's all right. Someday they'll bring me fiber, and I'll be happy.
Yeah.
And look, there are hopefully plans to address that. Australia has a national broadband network rollout, which is progressing, and it means some places that are on that new network, that new fibre network, have much better internet than the rest of us, but it is a long, slow rollout. And the latest update to that project is that project isn't delivering fibre to the house or fibre to the premises, it's only delivering fibre to the node. So if you want to get connected on that high speed, you still have a portion of infrastructure that you need to pay for, or else you're still on the slow end of that link between you and the fibre network.
Do you think SMB and Enterprise have the same concerns with cloud? For instance, security, data sovereignty, cost. Well, I think everybody has cost as always as a factor. But do you think they would have the same concerns, but possibly on a different level?
Yeah, I think they do to some extent, but I think SMB customers are more open to the option of change and are more, they're kind of happier with the answers that they get. So we have conversations with our customers about data sovereignty and about security in the cloud, and they are generally happy, once you've explained to them how things are structured and that not all cloud providers are created equal. But I get a sense from the conversations I'm having with enterprise sysadmins that there is much more of a fear and much more issues around risk and control that enterprise has that SMB isn't too concerned about.
So what about security? Like, I feel like I always like to bring that up because I don't think enterprises, what I've seen, I think they take security seriously, but I think that their practices are often outdated. Do you see that small business takes better advantage of being smaller and being able to lock things down better to reduce risk?
Actually, I think it's the opposite. In the SMB, they often make sacrifices in security because of ease of use. So in SMB, it's not uncommon to turn around and go, oh, well, we're just using the other person's login for 3 weeks because they're on leave and we've got somebody temping them for them. Like, it's not a big deal. And I think because small businesses are they have a lot tighter relationships between their staff because they're small teams. They trust each other a lot more, and so anything that's going to get in the way, like stronger password policies or enforcing password changes or just making sure they're not using generic accounts, as soon as you start putting things like that into place as best practice in a small business, it's actually seen as a roadblock. It's seen as making their life harder to get the job done. So quite often they will forego those kind of controls over ease of use. Yeah, that's a tough one.
Oh yeah, I mean, when I worked in small business, I would see the users post their passwords on their tape it on their monitors, so anybody can log in when they weren't in. I'm like, oh, that's great, that's awesome. Just give your password to everybody. Well, why even have passwords if you're just gonna tape it and post it on your desk? But I agree. Yeah. I think it's that convenience. To them, it's almost like a roadblock. But it's the same way, though, in Enterprise. I mean, I've got users that really hate passwords and wish we didn't have to change our passwords every, 60 days. And why do we have to have, so many certain characters and special characters, numbers, letters? And you're like, but, we've got compliance reasons. But it's still a roadblock for them as well.
I feel it's bigger than passwords, though. Like, security is about firewalls and being able to spend the money to keep those up to date. I feel like smaller businesses might not think of those types of things, and then where large enterprises do, I think that they have so many updates to do across the board that they can fall behind. So anyways, I think it can be a challenge in either.
I would agree. I think they each have their own challenges. The enterprise, with it being so large, obviously cost and resources, but then it's the same thing for the SMB, cost and resources. You may not have enough staff, and I mean, most enterprises are, if you go in there, they're going to complain, not enough people on their team. I think it's the same story. I mean, in the past couple of years, I've worked at different companies, and it's the same story every company I go to. We've got 50 million projects, just not enough team members. And you go, what, the grass isn't greener. It's just a different shade of green. And we all, everybody has the same worries, the same issues, concerns, just slightly different. Bigger budgets. Enterprises, have one project, maybe $2 million. SMB, I'm sure that's not going to, I'm sure an average SMB isn't going to have a $2 million project. That's probably, a couple of years worth of an IT budget. Am I not correct, Sonja?
Yeah, look, that's absolutely right. We spoke to a potential customer about being our IT department for them and got a response that, our support contracts for 3 months would be more than their IT budget for a whole year, which kind of surprised me a little. I don't think we're the most expensive in town. I know we're not the cheapest, but when I worked it out, their IT budget basically worked out to be $20 per staff member per month.
Oh my
gosh. That's all they were spending on IT. So,
Wow.
I know as IT professionals that there is a ton of stuff that they're not doing when their only IT resource is an external person, and that's all that that is being built in terms of IT budget. You just think, okay, so how? Yeah, so it's obviously we call the IT guy in when something's broken and we need it fixed, and that's the extent of it. And this company couldn't even tell me with any certainty whether or not their backups were working or not.
It's more of a reactive
Completely,
IT.
Yeah, it is. But just going back to what we're talking about, security and firewalls, and especially that kind of hardware end of town, the landscape has shifted in terms of affordability for SMB, and even putting aside the cloud conversation, things like business-grade networking equipment, for example. There used to be this great divide of you either had a home-grade router or you had Cisco. And for Cisco small business, that meant A, it was expensive, and B, you had to find an expensive resource to support it. Now I see a lot of the hardware companies have realised that the SMB end of town is a market, and so we are seeing more products that are coming out that have better features than home grade, but not all the bells and whistles of an enterprise grade appliance, and the affordability is certainly getting better. It just requires the IT guys and that the resellers and the support teams that look after those small businesses to be aware of what the products are in the market, so they can be recommending the best solutions for their customers.
That's true, and that's really, really great that there are those options. There, like you said, there used to not be. When we were talking about how some of the small businesses function too, it reminded me of my very first IT job. It was an internship when I first left college. I was the only IT person as an intern, and I reported to the controller who did accounting, and they were just happy. The staff was just happy to have somebody to even look at an issue, and I learned so much in that setting. And it sounded like some of the environments you described still kind of function that way. Maybe not an intern, but they have an IT resource, and they're happy to just have some level of support to get through their day-to-day.
Yeah, I think you're right. And one of the biggest challenges that I see with cloud adoption in SMB is small businesses actually taking advantage of new features in the products. Because if you're just going to migrate to Office 365 because you're getting rid of your Exchange server, and at the end of the day you're still using Outlook and you're still emailing like it's 2007, then yes, you've reduced your support costs for your server, but you really haven't changed your business, and you haven't improved your productivity, and you haven't really taken advantage of all of the cool new features that they're putting into these products to make your life easier. And I have great fun in showing our customers little features like right-click ignore that they didn't even know that they could do in the new version of Outlook. But SMB and Enterprise IT is very much, we both had the same challenges of getting stuck in the day-to-day, the monitoring, the break fix, the keeping everything running. That when you're fighting fires, it's hard to find the time to switch into, okay, improvement, suck some more investment out of these products that we've already paid a licensing fee for. And so the whole adoption challenge in SMB, I think pretty much is a similar challenge that Enterprise has too.
Innovation, we call it innovation mode. And I would agree, enterprises face the same challenges. We still have users running Outlook 2010 and 2007, and a lot of that is also cost. And the upgrade and the licensing costs to get everybody upgraded, and the time to do it when you have thousands of users. By the time you get to a group of people or a department, you're already 2 versions ahead, and then you have to go through the training. So it's like a never-ending process, especially now with the 18-month turnaround on upgrades, because 2016 is out, and not everybody even has 2010, and then the Office 2013, there's only a handful of people that have that, and I'm like, okay, we need to get on 2016 now. Great.
But look, that's going to be the system administrator's next biggest challenge, I think, is managing that upgrade cycle. If you look at something like Office 365 Pro Plus, where that Pro Plus subscription has constant updates that are coming out on a more regular cycle, the days of those major versions coming out in one package like they have in the past are limited, I think, and so it's going to be hard. Do we as technical people keep on top of the changes that are coming out? The click-to-run deployment methods and things like the Office Deployment Toolkit do help manage the implementation of that stuff, but you're going to have to have it set up and constructed within your organization to make it easier to get those updates out to the people who can use them and test them and the ones that aren't scared of change, and the ones that are quite happy to be the guinea pig to test new features to see if anything breaks. But obviously the other challenge the enterprise has, and even our small business customers too that run line of business apps, there's a big dependence on the vendors keeping up, on the third-party vendors keeping up to make sure that their products are going to integrate and not break things. We have some accounting software over here that's very popular in Australia and New Zealand, and it's not yet compatible with Office 2016, for example, fully. So we had an issue with emailing our payroll slips. So it's interesting times ahead. I think one of the biggest things that's going to be holding us back from keeping people up to date in the future isn't so much the deployment of the products, it's the upgrade and the testing and the compatibility with everything else we use that has to talk with the new products.
Do you feel that the SMB life cycle of when they are interested in doing upgrades is different than the enterprise?
That's a good question. We have a bit of a mix. So I've seen SMB customers who are happy to stay with the status quo until it breaks. And then I've seen SMB customers who constantly within a 2 to 3 year life cycle are looking to upgrade. So yeah, I think it's a bit of a mix. And obviously that's also very dependent on how good a financial year they've had, and where they are at financially, and can we afford to upgrade this financial year, or do we need to put it off until we've got our next budget rounds?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the time going, oh my.
We could talk all day.
I know, like, oh wow, it is going fast.
It is going really fast.
So it's that time of the evening of the show where we talk about, the latest news in the industry, and obviously there is some really big news this week from Microsoft. They announced for their OneDrive offering, the unlimited storage is no longer unlimited now. It has been reduced. So that was a big shock to everybody, down to 1 terabyte because of some unruly people backing up their PCs and their DVR collections, taking up 75 terabytes space. That's a lot of movies, a lot of porn. 75 terabytes.
That's a ton.
Yeah, that's a lot of porn. And they just ruined it for everybody now.
I know, it's disappointing. There's always that person or that group of people, though, right?
So I've got I've got two questions with that one. So how did they know that these are DVRs? And also, you start to go, okay, you shot yourself in the foot. So you advertised this, and now you're taking it back. That's not cool. No,
it is kind of bad marketing. They should have just put the tiering in place initially. But they wanted to draw customers, right? So if you tell me I can use OneDrive unlimited, I'm excited. I'm going to try it. If you're going to limit me, I might not have. So I think that's what they were thinking initially. But now it feels like they just stripped a Band-Aid off to a certain degree.
And all of the technical community and even the non-technical community are going, what were you thinking? Like, seriously, it's such a bad PR move, and I don't think anybody outside of the official Microsoft press release has made any sense of it. It's not like other companies don't offer unlimited and deal with it. Maybe we should just get the guy to move his 75 terabytes to another unlimited cloud provider and be done with it. But yeah, it's such a bad move.
Yeah, not cool, because now, even if you want to pay for more, you're not really going to get that much.
No.
I think I don't know. All I know is that now all my storage vendor friends, I think I tweeted it. I mean, this is pretty much a freebie for all the storage vendors out there. Like,
they can take advantage of it.
Yeah,
they can.
Definitely take advantage of it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't store everything in the cloud, especially if you want to back up your PCs. But most people think, isn't that what the cloud is for, though? it kind of sort of defeats the purpose, I guess. A little disappointing. I guess I have to go delete all my pictures and movies from my
Yeah.
OneDrive. Sorry.
As long as you weren't the one using the 75 terabytes, you're probably fine.
I will never say. No. Promise it wasn't me. And it looks like
funny.
this week there's a lot of partnerships happening this week too. Looks like Microsoft and Red Hat, and then looks like Lenovo, Nutanix. Lots of friends being made in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think about that? It's almost like a consolidation, or the bubbles bursting, and everyone
Yeah.
pretty much let's pair up and make sure we go, we do this together.
I think it's good. I think it makes products, well, it can make products stronger. It actually can make or break a company. But it allows change and growth, and I think it weeds out the weak, and the strong get stronger. So, I think it's good when that stuff happens. We can't just stay stagnant.
It's certainly indicative of the new Microsoft, though, isn't it? They've come out and said that they want to provide the best solutions across all of the platforms, and that Red Hat Enterprise Linux in Azure, it's just another symptom or another sign of Microsoft saying true to their word of we are changing as a company. We are not the Microsoft of old who only does everything on Windows. So it'll be interesting to see just how far they take that concept. I don't know if we ever thought we would have seen a partnership like that with Red Hat. So it kind of makes me wonder what else they've got on the drawing board in the future, and who they might team up with. It's a strange new world.
Well, they did, get on stage at VMworld too, so that was, that was a big deal as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's definitely a smart move from Microsoft. They've definitely woken up and thought, well, you know what? The only way to win this war or this game is to be friends with everybody. It definitely makes sense. Should be interesting though to see how all this pans out at the end. Well,
didn't Microsoft also at some point, didn't they introduce that they were doing their own Linux too? So when you think about that, maybe they were feeling that Red Hat would be a good partner in developing that further.
Why reinvent the wheel?
Right. So, all right, well, I think that's about all we had for news this evening. So, thank you, Sonja, for joining us.
Thank you, and thank you for the kangaroo.
Yes, we needed one.
My pleasure. Thanks, guys.
It's awesome.
Yep.
And thank you, everybody, for watching.
Yep, thank you, everybody.
Have a great
evening.
Oh, you know what? I totally forgot. Today's like our 1-year anniversary of current status.
How exciting.
Yeah. Well, actually, tomorrow is. So, but technically, yeah, it's our 1-year anniversary. Completely. And Melissa's not on tonight. She's not feeling well. So
I'm impressed you remembered. So I'm like that bad spouse that doesn't remember anniversaries.
Great. Well, it just dawned on me, like, oh my God, that's our 1-year anniversary. I'm going to have to yell at Melissa now, too, because she's probably sleeping. Like, you forgot our anniversary.
Hey, congratulations. That's awesome. Well done.
Yeah.
Thank you. And we had you on the show for our 1-year anniversary, so that's great. And we got a kangaroo.
And a kangaroo.
Right. And you finally got a kangaroo for your 1-year anniversary.
It took a year.
That's awesome.
It took a year. We did a lot of kangaroo talk back in those early episodes last year.
Right. Finally, a real kangaroo. I'm just waiting for the one that will show up in my backyard.
Yeah.
I think Gambo still owes me a real kangaroo somewhere. Okay, well, thank you.
All right. Yep, thank you.
Have a great evening. Thank you, Sonja.
Yep.
Thanks, ladies. Bye.
Bye.